What is up, all you mentees? This is the Uncanny Omar here from Nearman Condition, and today we're going to be looking at the top 10 best video games based on comic books, and I can't do this alone. So with me is...
What's up, y'all? It's Rob64. Keep gaming. How's it going, everybody?
So, stay tuned. And welcome back, all you mentees. Now, before we get started, please don't forget to hit that subscribe video if you enjoy videos like these. We put out videos every day. Number 2, this is all subjective. This is just our list. We'd love to know what yours are. Leave those comments down below. So, let's get started. I'll count down. Number 10, Rob, what is it?
Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game. So, this game, if you're not familiar with it, it is a 4-player beat-em-up. It is used sprite graphics. It's by Ubisoft. And I happen to have the vinyl soundtrack because the soundtrack is fantastic. So Omar, I gotta ask, why did you want to choose this game other than this really freaking fun Double Dragon-esque type game?
That's exactly why, because it harkens back to those days of the arcade beat-em-ups. It's 4 players. Came out in 2010, I think, and it was available through the Xbox Live. So my brothers and I, my wife now, we all played them. We all chose our characters. Scott, Knives, all those characters were available, and it's done in this beautiful, like you mentioned, I was thinking more like Renegade than Double Dragon because of the 8-bit pixelated graphics. Loved it, man. It was so fun. And the music. There's a reason why you own the vinyl.
So yeah, I have to agree. Scott Pilgrim definitely deserves something. And actually, the comic is really good too. So
it is based on the comic book by Brian O'Malley. So that's the reason why we put it on the list.
Number 9 is Injustice 2. Now, why do we choose Injustice 2? This is from the same guys who made Mortal Kombat. So this is technically a Ed Boon joint, Warner Brothers Games collaboration. It has fatalities, it has fantastic graphics. When you go do your specials, it cuts, and there's all these crazy things that happen. There's a huge full roster. This is not the Gold Edition, but there's a Gold Edition version of this game. It includes every DC character you can think of. Now I don't have very many DC things in my house, but this is one of them. Injustice 2 especially really kicks it off as far as not only is it a great homage to DC characters, it's also a really fun fighting game.
And one of the coolest things about this game is that it has the same thing that Mortal Kombat did. Mortal Kombat had fatalities, whereas this game has, I guess, finishes. And those finishing moves are so fun to watch, especially when you're playing together with your friends, kicking each other's asses. So
these finishers are really cool. Normally the game runs at a silky smooth 60 frames a second, but when the finishers kick in, it cuts to film grade 30 frames a second. So the characters look even better, the camera angles are awesome, there's lots of, not necessarily violence and gore, but like when Joker does his things, it's pretty cool. So yeah, this is a fantastic game, Injustice 2. Number 8 is Telltale's The Walking Dead series. This is an episodic game I have in my hand, Season 2, but there were 5 of these. This is by Telltale Games. I have the Vita edition. This obviously, Omar, what do you love about this game?
I love how dark and detailed this game was, and I love that I cared more about the characters in this video game than I did any of the seasons of the Walking Dead TV show. Because that is one of the things about this game, is that this is based on the comic book, so it takes place in the fictional world of the comic book, not in the world of the TV show. And it is just well written, well voice acted. It is a wonderful game if you've never played it, and it was really difficult choosing between this and The Wolf Among Us.
We almost didn't get all 5 seasons of this. There were some shakeups at Telltale, but we did get everything. It's released. It's awesome. The writer is based in Lexington, so shouts out to Lexington Intellectual Property.
And there's a reason why this game won Game of the Year award.
Number 7 is Batman on the NES and Batman on the Sega Genesis. So these games, you have to think, picture 1988. We didn't really have comic book games on the Nintendo. And yet, this game, it's by Sunsoft, is a fantastic game. Great music. It was tough, but not impossible. Comic book characters that we love. Then the Genesis version came out. When the Genesis version came out, the graphics were absolutely stunning. It was based in a similar time frame as the Michael Keaton Batman movie, so you get that really dark aesthetic. And the soundtrack, the music was unbelievable. We never heard such music coming from a comic book video game. It was amazing. Great punching and kicking and jumping action. I loved it. Bought all these.
So this is one of those rare games that it happens to be based on the movie that was originally based on the comic book. So that's why we added it on the list. It is all 3 versions are phenomenal versions.
Number 6, X-Men. Now, let me be more specific on which X-Men we're talking about. We're talking about the Not the 2-player, not the 4-player, but the 6-player dual-screen Konami X-Men arcade game. As I just said, this game blew your mind. You walk into the arcade, and this thing is the size of a truck. But it accommodates up to 6 people playing it, and it uses 2 screens. One is actually a screen, the other one's projecting. This is Konami's, this is right around the time Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was out, so the beat 'em up style of gameplay is what this is. You had attack, jump, and you had your mutant power. And Magneto comes in, talks trash, you have all of these Marvel characters, and it was really cool to have 6 of your favorite X-Men fighting at the same time. I absolutely love this game. I got a chance to play it again recently at a local arcade, and it's still a lot of fun.
Ironically enough, this video game is based on the Pride of the X-Men one-shot cartoon that Marvel produced. But still, I remember thinking, you know what would be cool? Is if Wolverine shot lasers out of his adamantium claws. That would add to his badassness in the comic books. Of course, I was a foolish kid, but still, this video game made me think that. Now, before we move on to our final 5, I want to remind you all to please smash that like button. Rob, number 5.
Marvel Ultimate Alliance. Now, this style of game is really cool. It's overhead, you have tons and tons of characters from the Marvel universe. Not straight beat 'em up, but lots of action, lots of smashing, and also mutant powers. Omar, why don't you talk a little bit about this and where it comes from?
It's funny that we both decided on this one because while there's a Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2 and the recently Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, we went with this one because I think this is the perfect gaming to do with your friends or your family all in one room. I loved it. You could be up to 4 characters at a time, and it took the elements that we love so much from the X-Men Legends games 1 and 2 and just perfected it in this. Whereas feel like Ultimate Alliance 2, yes, the graphics were better, but as far as the storyline and the characters, for some reason to me, just they took like 3 or 4 steps back. But this was phenomenal to play. Unlockable characters, skins for your characters. You wanted to unlock everything in the game, and it became super addictive to play.
I agree with you 100%. Ultimate Alliance 1 was fantastic when this originally came out on the Xbox 360.
Number 4, this was a hard one. So you have Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and Arkham Knight. And to choose between those 3, we decided to go with Arkham City because I think Arkham City perfected the things that were flawed a little bit in Arkham Asylum and just made them better. And you talk about world building, this game was huge. You're looking at the entire city of Gotham instead of just focusing on just Arkham Asylum and the surrounding area.
So I'm holding even though I'm holding Arkham Knight in my hand, it's still the same developer, Rocksteady. They've been very consistent and they've been a fantastic developer of this franchise. Arkham City, Arkham Knight, Arkham Asylum, they're on PlayStation, they're on Xbox, they're even on the Wii U. They're on the Wii U. So if you haven't had a chance to try any of these games, definitely must do that so you can figure out who the Arkham Knight is. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to spoil that for you. Check it out.
Number 3. X-Men vs. Street Fighter. Now, out of all the games to go with, we went with X-Men vs. Street Fighter because it was the very first time that you saw your characters, your favorite characters from the X-Men universe fighting your favorite characters from Street Fighter. And it was 2 worlds colliding and it was insanity. Many a times at the arcade, us just trying to beat our opponents, our friends, our family, wasting so many, I don't want to say wasting, spending so many quarters down those machines. It was a memory that will forever live in my brain. The first time I ever saw that arcade, I was like, no. Like, my jaw dropped and I said, no way, they put 2 of my favorite franchises together?
Obviously, I'm right here with Omar. Of the franchise, because there's X-Men vs. Street Fighter, there's the original X-Men game, but the first time we saw this world collide, it was completely out of nowhere. So Capcom's the developer of these games, and they had just released X-Men, which is a great, Children of the Atom, which is a great game in upon itself. Then they released the sequel, Marvel Superheroes, and we had things like Infinity Gems, Thanos made his appearance, cool supers and specials. Like, they did a lot of really cool things with X-Men and Marvel Superheroes. Then they decided to cross them, which we should have seen this coming. But who would have thought to see X-Men and the Street Fighter team up together? And it shouldn't have worked. It was fast-paced, combos were insane, special moves were insane, everyone jumped super high, it just didn't make any sense. But it worked, and it worked well, and Capcom ran with it. So, yeah, absolutely. When X-Men vs. Street Fighter was in the arcade, we pumped so much money into this. This game you can get on the Saturn. And it did not come out in America on the Saturn. The original X-Men came out on the Saturn, Children of the Atom. but not X-Men versus Street Fighter. You had to get a 4 meg RAM card in order to play that properly. But if you're like one of us who had Japanese Saturns or had modded their Saturn, this is the game that we played, you and me and our friends Omar, every time we got together, because this game was so much fun. So much fun.
Now, we got 2 left. So, number 2 is a game that I know a lot of people have played recently. It's huge. It was like a big seller for the PlayStation 4, and that is, of course, Spider-Man. Rob, why don't you tell us a little bit about this game and what made it so popular?
Okay, so Spider-Man, I cannot give enough praise to Spider-Man 4. This is the Game of the Year edition. This includes all the DLC that was released during the lifestyle of the game. This is by Insomniac, same developers of Infamous and Infamous 2 Second Son. These guys are super talented developers, and this world of Spider-Man is unbelievable. Omar can talk more about where or if or which pieces of comic were in the game, but you fight Kingpin, and you fight all these characters, you fight everyone, you fight tons of people that you would not expect to fight into Spider-Man. But more importantly, because if you look at the history of Spider-Man games, there's the second one on the Dreamcast that was pretty fun, and then there was this one. There's one on the Genesis that wasn't that great, but this game is amazing. The world, the detail, there's tons and tons of costumes that Spider-Man can unlock. Backpacks to find for extra abilities. It's just absolutely gorgeous. It's well voice acted. It's well choreographed. It's amazing. It won Game of the Year awards out the wazoo as well. So I cannot, if you've not had a chance, if you don't have a PlayStation 4, and you've not played this game, even if you don't like comics, this is a fantastic action game.
I love that you call it amazing, because he is the Amazing Spider-Man. As far as the comics that this game was based on, it's scattered all about. It takes aspects from different comic books, but what the cool thing that Marvel did was release a series of comic books called the Gamerverse. So it was like Spider-Man and Peter Parker was all in this little universe called the Gamerverse universe, which takes place during his PS4 Spider-Man game. So I thought that was a pretty cool thing that the publisher did. Regardless, this game is phenomenal and deserves all the awards that it got. Now, before we get to our number 1, we're going to do some honorable mentions because these came really close to our top 10. So we have things like Lego Batman, which is ridiculous and awesome. Lego DC, that whole thing. The Telltale Wolf Among Us, which I mentioned earlier. So close. And Scribblenauts Unmasked, because I love all the little DC characters you can use in those games. Rob, what were some of the honorable mentions you had?
Man, it came really close. Picking all of those Batman, the original old school Batman games. So Return of the Joker for the Nintendo. Fantastic. Huge sprites. Love that game. Lots of fun. Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, another Capcom beat 'em up game that technically has not been released at home. That's a lot of fun too. And The Punisher Arcade, another Capcom game where you are Dick Fury and you can shoot and do the Punisher and shoot and punch. It's great.
Now for our number 1. Rob, what is it?
Gonna take you for a ride. Marvel vs. Capcom 2. New Age of Hero.
Why did we decide with this one instead of Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Marvel vs. Capcom 1? And I think it's because it just was a beautiful amalgam of all these characters that you never expected to see in a video game. I'm talking about characters like Cable, characters like Marrow, Sansan, like obscure characters that Capcom just brought out that have been in the shadows for years. And not only that, but you also had like assist people that would jump in and help you out. And each one of those was an Easter egg to fans of comic books. Thor was in it. Like you could not wait for Marvel vs. Capcom 3. But Marvel vs. Capcom 2 to me was perfection. So much money spent at the arcade playing that game. And by the time that it came home on the Dreamcast, it made my ass drove to the store to get a Dreamcast just for that game.
As Omar said, like for me, this was a tough one because I love Marvel vs. Capcom so much that I bought the arcade box. My favorite go-to Capcom fighter was this game. But, when Marvel vs. Capcom 2 came out, this is the first game it had, well not the first game, but this had 56 characters that were time release. So every week you would go to the arcade, potentially a new character could be unlocked. And the more it was played, the more characters and things were unlocked. So 56 characters. And me being an X Factor person, I saw Cable in this game, and I saw Marvel characters I had never even heard of before that were in this. It was fantastic. fantastic. So it used the Sega Naomi hardware, which was the arcade version of the Dreamcast. So you had 3D backgrounds to go with the game, but 2D sprite artwork, and it was absolutely wonderful. And there was 3-on-3. Previous X-Men vs. Street Fighter and Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter were 2-on-2, but this one was 3-on-3 with people switching out, a la King of Fighters, and it was just absolutely phenomenal. And the reason that the Dreamcast version stood out so well is because it's the same freaking game. It's perfect, pixel perfect arcade translation. So Capcom really knocked it out of the park on this. Now, subsequent ones, Marvel Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and Marvel vs. Infinity, we're not going to talk about those, but Marvel vs. Capcom 1 and Marvel vs. Capcom 2 are, I think, the benchmark of Marvel video game gameplay.
Now, if you want some of these books that these video games are based on, please check out our sponsor, cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for brand new graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off the cover price. Cheap Graphic Novels prides itself on packaging your books so they arrive safely and in excellent condition, as well as prompt and helpful service. And check out their bargain bin for even greater deals up to 90% off cover price. And for you minties, Cheap Graphic Novels is running a special promotion. If you're a first-time customer, let them know you were referred by Near Mint Condition at the checkout, and you'll receive a credit for free shipping on your next order. Now, this is only for U.S. customers. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discounts, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. Again, it's all subjective. This is our list. We'd love to know what yours are. And if you like to see these lists, if you want to see more, please leave those comments down below. Rob and I were talking about doing the worst video games based on comic books.
Yeah, we have a hot garbage list. We have a anime manga list. We have a lot of things that we could talk about.
So, please don't forget to hit that like, subscribe,
smash that notification icon. Remember, gamers who play together, stay together. So please, wash your hands, please be safe, keep social distance, and keep gaming. We appreciate you guys. Love you very much. Peace.
Much love to everybody.